Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learn English Podcast.
Divorce changed my life. Emotional English story for listening. Learn English through stories level 1. My name is Liza, and today I want to tell you a story that changed my life forever. It's a story about love, pain, and finding myself again. A few years ago, I was married. I believed in love, I believed in forever, and I believed that marriage would make me happy. But life doesn't always go the way we dream. My husband and I started arguing about small things, and soon those small things became big problems. We stopped listening to each other. We stopped smiling. Every day felt heavy. I cried in silence, pretending everything was fine, but deep inside, I was breaking. When the divorce finally happened, I felt lost. It was like a part of me had disappeared. I looked at myself in the mirror and didn't know who I was anymore. But even in that darkness, something inside me whispered, "This is not the end, Liza. This is the beginning of a new you." That voice gave me hope. I started to think that maybe this pain had a purpose. Maybe it was here to teach me how to be strong, how to love myself, and how to start again. I didn't know how to do it yet, but I promised myself that one day I would stand up again, stronger, wiser, and happier than before. After the divorce, my life felt empty. The house that was once full of laughter now felt silent and cold. I woke up in the morning and looked at the empty side of my bed. It reminded me of everything I had lost. I tried to smile, but my heart was heavy. I felt lonely, confused, and scared of the future. For the first time, I had to live alone. I had to pay my own bills, cook my own food, and make my own decisions. It was not easy. Sometimes I cried while eating dinner because I missed having someone to talk to. Sometimes I stayed up late at night, asking myself, why did this happen to me? But slowly, I realized that pain is not the end. Pain is a teacher. It teaches us who we really are. One morning, I looked out the window and saw the sunrise. The sky was pink and gold, and it made me cry again, but this time, not from sadness. I cried because I realized that the world was still beautiful. Life was still moving forward, even when I felt stuck. That morning, I decided to take my first step toward healing. I started small. I cleaned my room. I made myself breakfast. I went for a walk. I listened to music. Every small thing gave me a little bit of strength. I began writing in a notebook, my healing journal. I wrote about my feelings, my memories, and my hopes. Some days I wrote about sadness. Some days I wrote about courage. The more I wrote, the lighter I felt. I also began to talk to my friends again. I realized that I had pushed people away during my marriage. Now they welcomed me with open arms. They listened to me, encouraged me, and reminded me that I was not alone. I started to laugh again, slowly, quietly, but truly. It was like learning to breathe again after a long storm. Even though the pain was still there, I could feel a small light inside me. A light that said, "You can rebuild your life, Liza. You are stronger than you think." As the weeks passed, I began to understand something very important. I didn't lose everything after my divorce. I still had myself, and that was enough to start again. For so many years, I had tried to make someone else happy, but I had forgotten how to make myself happy. I realized that love should begin inside the heart. Before we can love others, we must first love who we are. So I started to do things just for me. I took long walks in the park and watched the sunset. I sat by the river and listened to the sound of the water. I started reading books again, books that inspired me, books that made me dream. I began to draw and paint, something I loved as a child, but had stopped doing after I got married. When I held the paintbrush, I felt free. I felt like I was meeting the real Liza again, the girl who had dreams, passion, and a heart full of hope. Some days were still hard. There were mornings when I didn't want to get out of bed. I missed the past. I missed the person I used to be. But every time I fell, I reminded myself, Liza, you are learning. Healing takes time. And that gave me strength. I didn't need to be perfect. I just needed to keep moving forward. I also started taking better care of my health. I joined a small yoga class in my neighborhood. At first, I was shy and nervous, but soon I met new people, kind people who were also healing from their own struggles. We shared stories, laughed, and encouraged each other. I realized that everyone carries pain, but when we share it, it becomes lighter. Bit by bit, I began to see life differently. I no longer saw the divorce as a failure. I saw it as a lesson, a painful but powerful lesson. It taught me strength, independence, and self-respect. It showed me that I am not defined by my past. I am defined by how I rise after falling. For the first time in many years, I looked in the mirror and smiled, not because someone loved me, but because I loved myself. And that was the most beautiful feeling of all. After months of learning to love myself, I started to feel alive again. I woke up in the morning with a calm heart and a clear mind. I was no longer afraid of being alone. I began to see my life as a blank page, and I was holding the pen. For the first time, I could write my own story. I started a small job at a local bookstore. At first, I thought it was just a way to keep myself busy, but soon it became something more. Every day, I met people who loved stories. Some came looking for books about love, others about hope or courage. Talking to them made me realize that everyone has a story, and every story matters. Some customers told me about their struggles, their heartbreaks, and their dreams. I listened, smiled, and sometimes shared a little of my own journey. I didn't know it then, but my pain was slowly turning into my strength. I also began helping a group for women who had gone through divorce. We met every weekend in a small community center. We talked, cried, and laughed together. At first, I joined to find comfort, but later I realized I was helping others heal too. I encouraged them to believe in themselves, to take care of their hearts, and to never give up. Every time I saw someone smile again after months of sadness, I felt proud. I thought, maybe this is why I went through my pain, to help others rise again. Slowly, I started to dream again. I wanted to study psychology, to understand people's emotions better, and to help those who feel lost. I began taking online classes in the evenings. It wasn't easy, but I felt strong and excited. My mind was growing and my heart was healing. One evening, while walking home from work, I looked at the sky. The sunset painted everything in gold and pink, just like the morning I saw months ago. But this time, my tears were not from sadness. They were from gratitude. I realized how far I had come. From being broken and lost, I had become brave and full of hope. I learned that life doesn't end after heartbreak. Sometimes it truly begins after it. Divorce didn't destroy me, it helped me find myself. I was no longer the same Liza who depended on someone else for happiness. I was a new Liza, independent, confident, and full of love for life. That night, I wrote in my journal, "Pain changes people, but if you choose to grow from it, pain can make you beautiful." I am thankful for my past because it led me here, to peace, to freedom, and to myself. As time passed, I realized that true healing doesn't happen in one day. It happens slowly. One smile, one small step, one brave decision at a time. Some days I still felt sad, but I no longer let the sadness control me. I learned to let go of what I couldn't change and to focus on what I could. I learned that life is not about forgetting the past, it's about forgiving it. Forgiveness was the hardest lesson for me. For a long time, I blamed my ex-husband for the pain I went through. But one quiet night, as I sat by my window, I asked myself, what if forgiveness is not for him, but for me? I realized that as long as I held on to anger, my heart would never be free. So I whispered into the night, "I forgive you." Tears rolled down my face, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of release. At that moment, I felt light, like I could breathe again. I also forgave myself. I forgave myself for staying too long, for crying too much, for thinking I wasn't enough. I understood that every mistake, every tear, and every scar was part of my growth. Divorce didn't mean failure, it meant change, and change can be the beginning of something beautiful. Now, when I look at my life, I see how far I have come. I have peace in my heart and hope in my future. I spend my weekends volunteering, helping women who are starting their new lives. I tell them, you are not broken. You are becoming who you are meant to be. When they smile, I see a reflection of myself, the woman who once thought her life was over, but now stands tall, full of light and love. Every morning, I wake up, make my tea, and watch the sunrise. It reminds me that every day is a new beginning. I no longer live in the shadow of my past. I live in the light of my growth. My divorce didn't destroy me. It shaped me into someone stronger, wiser, and kinder. I learned that endings are not always sad. Sometimes they are the door to a new, beautiful chapter. I learned that pain can be a teacher, and love, especially self-love, can heal everything. And now I finally understand the truth. Divorce didn't break my life. It helped me find the courage to build a better one. Liza's story teaches us an important lesson. Life can be painful, but every ending can be a new beginning. Divorce was a hard experience, but it helped Liza discover her true strength, self-love, and courage. She learned to forgive others and herself, to face life with hope, and to find happiness within her own heart. Her journey shows that even after sadness, we can rise stronger, wiser, and braver. Pain doesn't define us. How we grow from it does. Liza's story reminds us that every challenge is an opportunity to learn. Every tear can teach us courage, and every ending can lead to a beautiful new chapter in life. No matter how difficult life becomes, we can always rebuild, shine, and find peace, just like Liza.